But whenever you're ready, Džemil, I would love you to please introduce yourself and your story, and how did you decided to create the Sniper Alley photo project 2 years ago, and how that idea started and how you decided to develop it.
My name is Džemil Hodžić. I was born in Sarajevo in 1983. When the war started, I was 9 years old, and from that period, I didn't have any photos of me, my family, or my late brother who was killed in 1995 when I was 12. So over the years after the war, I was always maybe subconsciously looking for photos of my mother who was working in a hospital, or my father who was in the front line. And I was secretly, without telling anyone, I was just looking for photos. Sometimes for 2 hours, I would search Facebook groups, Twitter, and with the introduction of Instagram, I would search Instagram as well. At some point, I started saving those photos, because Facebook groups, they either delete or they get lost. So, or it's really difficult to search. Even today, for example, Instagram is really difficult to search or find anything if you don't save it, or if you don't bookmark it or save it somehow, you don't get a second chance. So at some point I saved a lot of photos, and I realized that I had folders organized according to, let's say, places, people. And at some point I started noticing some photographers and their names. So I thought, okay, here's one photographer, here's another one. And after some time I had maybe 30 to 40 photographers in the list. So I thought that was too much, and that's it. I mean, who would say that in the list today, for example, I have 240 photographers and 80 of them are on the website. So we are not even halfway through. So just by chance, I showed it to my friend Gio, who's a journalist, and we had coffee at my place, and I showed him those folders, and he suggested that I write a story about me, about my late brother. I was really reluctant, and I didn't like the idea of me being in the center stage. I didn't want to write something about myself, and he was pushing me just to write it. We don't have to do anything, just write it. So when I wrote first draft, it was just the story, what happened to me. And then I mentioned the photographers, and then I mentioned some photographers that were at my brother's funeral. So he said, let's make a story around you, but not only about you. So the project started in 2019 in August with me searching for photos of my brother, myself, my mother, or my father. And that's how the project started, as I said, in 2019, but I was preparing it subconsciously in my mind, maybe from late 2017. So when we started the project, I had only 5 photographers on the website, and not many people knew about it. So it's been now 1 year and 8 months. We have 80 galleries. Each platform, social media platform, Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, they have at least 3,000 followers. So as we get bigger, the galleries get bigger because people hear about us, and it's easier for photographers as well to share their stories and photos, because it's something that's, how would I say, official, something that's has real people behind, because these, as I mentioned before, there are a lot of groups on Facebook, but they are not official. They don't credit the photographers. They don't have anyone in front of it. It's just some anonymous people. I mean, they are doing a great job, but it's, to put it mildly, illegal. So that's how everything started.
can we look at the website? You have an amazing website. It's very well done. So
Me
I
here, just a moment.
When I look at it, I always think it's very well done, also and especially for
So
researchers.
I hope you see it,
Yes.
all of you. So what I did, I placed on top of it. So there's no, it's very difficult. I didn't put it according to alphabetical order because I put the first people who either died or got killed on line of duty. So, and according to years. So first one is Jordi, who was killed in Sarajevo in 1992. And then it goes sometimes according to look of the photo. I scramble it sometimes, and some of these galleries have 50 photos inside. Some of them have 20, some of them just 2. But what's important here is not only photographs, but to mention these photographers who were actually doing their job and for us and for the world to see the truth and to see what was happening here. So I at least have 30 photographers pending. So they promised to send me photos, but they are busy or they couldn't access the photos or they need to scan them. So we'll see when it could come any day. For example, few photographers, I was waiting almost 2 years. So even before the launch, they told me they will send it to me, but then they didn't have time or they couldn't. One photographer, because of the COVID, what's really interesting, many people couldn't do anything with the photos because of COVID, but some of them had time to scan them all. So one photographer, she sent me 500 photos. She scanned everything she had. She was 2 months in Sarajevo in February and March 1995. And I didn't put all of them. And majority of these people that you see now, we actually found. And I don't want to say only one, but one child from the photo is dead, but he died after the war. And his sister contacted me and she was really happy to have a memory of him. And what's really interesting, some people contact me before reading my story. So they express their feelings and how happy they are. And I know exactly how they feel because I'm after that as well. And so, for example, we found this, she's alive, English teacher. But many people don't want to talk about it. Many people don't want to come forward publicly. So many things happen behind the curtains, in the emails or private chats. Because I think people don't feel, even today after 25 years, 28 years, they don't feel comfortable talking about these things. So I understand them. It took 24 years for me. So eventually they will, or they will never, who knows. So that's when it comes to galleries. So what I have in the website as well is mission, just so people can know what we are after. So main mission is to collect as much as possible photos from the period of the siege and to try to archive them and put them in some kind of a database together with photographers and those who survived the siege. So it's interaction between survivors, victims, and the photographers, journalists who covered the war. So my job becomes like a curator or a cooperator or a coordinator between the two, including me, because I'm the one who's still looking for the photos of myself or anyone from my family. So that's the mission. And one thing that we do for the photographers. That's the interaction, and people really like it. And I do these in memoriam pages for the people who were in Sarajevo and who either got killed in Sarajevo, Balkans, or somewhere else, or died after the war. So far we did 9 of them, and we have 20 of them and more if I include journalists who got killed. So still lots of things to do, because if we don't do it, I feel like we will lose them. We will never know that they were there or they did their job for us. So when it comes to photographers and their stories, we have a video section, and so far we did 3 episodes. The first one was with Enrico Tagnino, who I met personally after a meeting Paul Law. So 3 of them are published, 2 of them are in the post. One of them is Paul Law, and we still need some more details to publish it. So when I met Paul Law, through him I met Enrico Tagnino. So these are the only 2 photographers that I actually met, and because of COVID I couldn't meet others, and I really wanted, and I had plans and everything. So Christopher Morris' episode was done remotely. So I was here in Qatar and I was directing it over WhatsApp and Zoom with my friends. So if you don't mind, I would like to show that episode. It's 9 minutes. It talks about one massacre in Alapashno Polje that happened in 1994. So I'll just, there is if the connection is not that great, subtitles is there, so you might catch it. So I'll play it.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Christopher Morris. I'm a photographer. I don't label myself now as a photojournalist, documentary photographer, historian. Conflict photography, war photography, being led to war was to me the ultimate of photography. And that's why I kind of pursued that, at least on a personal level. In the sense, I wasn't even a photojournalist, I was a conflict photographer. I just did conflicts. And it was kind of like a selfish career choice. And I didn't set out to do it like to change mankind or to stop wars. It was for me personally, it was a very voyeuristic look at mankind at his worst. You're basically trying to photograph one man trying to kill another man, and you can't do it from 100 meters. You got to do it from 5 meters if you're going to do it well. I wasn't focused on living conditions in the city. I was more focused on where are the fighters? Because I was a conflict photographer. I was looking for the men with the guns, which was not easy to find. What was frightening here was death was just not some simple bullet hole in the neck. The death was complete mutilation and complete horror, you know. And that's what people don't see unless they live it, because nobody publishes they won't allow that to be published, you know. I realized it wasn't the men with the gun, the story here, it was the civilians. My whole focus started to transform to what was going on with the civilians. I gave up on being in Sarajevo and looking for the man with the gun. People were having to go out to stand in line and have their limbs ripped off and their children's faces ripped off. There was one winter of '94, we hear a thud big thud. We arrive, we pull up, and Enrico and I, and we see the blood and the snow and the children. They were all in their snow outfits, 6 of them. They were in these beautiful, colorful snow outfits. And this point was my breaking point. This was, through all that other years, I hadn't reached the way you're seeing me now on camera. I was just young. But this was, to me, it was my ending point. It was actually time pulled me out of Sarajevo after that. You know. So we raced to the hospital. We raced up to the morgue, and Enrico and I would go into the morgue, and the 6 bodies are laid out. Two of them, their faces were removed by the shrapnel. Shrapnel hit him in the side of the face and cut the face off, just like a knife, just. And when they picked up the bodies, the insides of the heads gone out, no brain, just the back of the skull, pure horror. So stand back, do the wide shot. Soon it's going to come the parents to identify their children. I stood over the bodies and I took portraits of their faces, even the boy without the face. There was a girl, blonde hair. Nobody was going to see those pictures. I knew nobody was going to see them. They're not to be published. I'm not going to see that picture for a couple months, but my editor is going to see it. He's going to have to open that box of slides. He's going to have to pick it up, and I'm going to punch him. I'm going to punch him in the stomach and make him look at that. He's not going to publish it. He's not going to publish it. Why do I take it? I take it basically to shock my editor. It's why I don't talk about it. It's why I don't look at my work from that. You know? And now I know it's a PTSD. In this place, it was on every corner, in every neighborhood. You know? And the world let it go on for 5 years. It's criminal. The daily survival. Food, fuel, water. Food, fuel, water. Fuel also for heating and cooking. When you see people with the little tree stumps shaping up shapes. You know. Surviving. Boutros-Ghali, Clinton, all of them were complicit. The whole stupidity of the UN, they stood back with their dirty hands tied behind their backs, not willing to do anything. You know, journalism, societies won't accept the display of the true horror. People don't want to look at it in the West. But I guarantee you, if my 13-year-old daughter washed up dead on the beach trying to escape Syria and was lying dead on the beach, I would want her photograph spread around the world. Spread around the world. You know. I don't tell these stories very often because most of my pictures of the people in Sarajevo are dead. They bring back pain. You know. They cause me to choke up. It's a knife in the stomach. I've got lots of them. I probably have 40, 50 pictures of dead kids looking down on them, bleeding out with their eyes open. Their eyes open, staring, gasping, but they're dead. They're lifeless. To hear the wail of the father and the grandfather when they see the child, to me that was the icing on that cake. That's why it took me, 25 years to come back.
That's third episode.
Manufacture a quality product in the UK. I produce water pumps in Buxton, Derbyshire. Now, Rishi Sunak announced the policy of free ports. The introduction of free ports.
Is it you, Džemil?
It was the video from the internet. I thought someone was asking the question.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Sorry.
Yeah, me too. It's okay. No worries.
That was the third episode we did for the project, but COVID slowed us down. We had in mind to do many more. So eventually we'll try to do with every photographer we can. So I was planning to even travel to their places if they cannot come to Sarajevo. So the plan is to shoot each episode about one photo or set of photos or one event. For example, Enrico's one, I suggest everyone to watch Enrico's one. The first episode and second episode is Thomas Haley. They're all interesting. So two of them are in the post. We'll hopefully have them published soon. So that's about the photographers.
Džemil, you said in the text that you sent us to introduce the talk today, you wrote that telling your personal story to others helped you in your journey to healing and also to create awareness. So I would like you to shortly comment on that, but also I would like to ask you, for example, with Christopher, how and why, in your opinion, all these photographers enthusiastically accepted your invitation to share their photographs and their stories? And I mean, your archive is just growing exponentially. So do you think because you exposed yourself, you told your story, and then it helped others to do the same?
So I guess that's the main reason for them to be so generous or willing to help me, because in the beginning, I would notice if someone doesn't read the story or they don't understand what it's about, because maybe they don't have time or they don't see it properly. But as I said before, when the project started and when people noticed that I'm after the photo of my brother who was killed in front of me, then they realized, okay, this is personal, this is nothing commercial, this is very, genuinely human project. So I guess Christopher or Enrico or other photographers, they feel the same, because they're kind of unspoken heroes. I'm a video editor myself, so I'm constantly behind the camera, constantly seeing others suffer, but never talk about myself, or nobody sees me. So it took me 24 years to write these things. Even now, when you ask me, I come up with some details that I never shared before. So I would say it helped me heal, but not in a way that I forget about my brother or the pain. Pain is never less, but it's easier to see that I'm not the only one, and it's easy to not be angry, and it's easier, I would say, to cry, because I haven't cried for 24 years, the way I cried in the last 2 years combined in the last 20. So obviously it meant something to me. So I'm hoping with this project and with me exposing myself, as you said, will help others, because I know how they feel. And I understand when someone doesn't want to talk. For example, many photographers are injured, but they never mention that. I find that out through the books I buy, or someone else mentions it. So I think I bought all the books that were written on Sarajevo from that period. And sometimes someone mentions something and they never actually want to share it. And I understand them. But then when I quote unquote push them or annoy them, they open up and share their photos or stories. So it's both ways. I had cases, I mean, for some people it might be irrelevant or small, but I had cases where I sent photos of photographers to them. Because one photographer who sends me the photos, he doesn't know the photographer, but I do. So when I send them, so it's both ways. They send photos of the children and I send the photos of them. So I think it helps. And one interesting thing is that everyone thinks this is all about death and destruction and atrocities. We had good stuff during the war. So finding photos of us playing football or doing some interesting stuff would help us as well reconnect or regain the memories of our childhood. I mean, I was 9 and I remember many things better than I remember 10 years ago because it was my childhood. So I'm not nostalgic for the war or bad conditions, but I'm nostalgic for the childhood I had. And of course, if I had any photo, one single photo would do miracles, because that would be the photo of a period when my brother was alive, which would give me some different or positive perspective. That's what I'm after. And I usually get comments on Facebook and I screenshot them and save them or save the names, because it's really difficult to track everything. So I try to save as much as possible, but usually what people say, almost 95%, oh man, you took me back 25 years and you made my day. And I know exactly what they mean, because I'm after that. So it's so that's the connection. And you said why the photographers, the second question, they don't open up that easily, I have to say. I won't name names, but sometimes it's difficult. And as I mentioned before, I totally understand. It's, I mean, they are busy, they have their lives. Some of them want to forget it totally, completely. One person I found in Finland, he's not a photographer anymore. I found him through his company with his new job, but he did send me photos and he was willing to help, but he doesn't want to talk about it. He doesn't want to have anything to do with it. So different people, different stories, and I guess different experiences.
This actually, I wanted to ask you something before we open the floor to our to the people that are following us tonight, if they have any question for you, because I was thinking your project is an archive, like a database. So it collects like a lot of photographs that were taken during the siege. So it's an incredible testimony of what happened during the war. And also we've been working with photographers at Kuma since the beginning, and I know that they don't like to talk about themselves because they always, I mean, I hope I got it correctly, but they feel like it's not the photographer who is important, but is the subject, you know, that the photographer is portraying. And this connects me to the question that I wanted to ask you. So you, every time you receive photographs, then you would try and find the people that were portrayed in those pictures in Sarajevo. And also one obvious question would be, how many pictures of your family and of your brother have you found in these past 2 years, if any?
So when I receive a zip file or email with a link to the photos, sometimes it's 10, sometimes it's 50, sometimes it's hundreds. I open it up and I expect to find myself first, and it's like a kid opening a Kinder Surprise. Yeah, I was like, so I go through the photos once, twice, 3 times, and I mean, surprisingly, I always find someone that I recognize or that someone I think I know. And sometimes what I do, I send it to my friends who lived in certain parts of the Sarajevo. So if I recognize it's Dobrina or Alpašino Polje or Old Town, I ask around, and I post different photos on Instagram, different photos on Twitter and on Facebook, and I ask around if someone recognize people, because I'm sure those people would like to have photos in higher res. So far, I haven't found anyone from my friends or family or extended family, none, 0. But now, I mean, it was never about me, I have to say. My personal story started it, and I'm not important anymore. Even if I never find it, I'm happy in a way. This mission is complete because at least 30 people found themselves and they were really happy. So it's a really, for me, I'm happy. It's a good feedback. So we'll see. And I think this project will never be finished because it could go to many directions. It's like a tree with loads of branches, because we could go into a film, documentary, book, exhibition. We never know what we're gonna find, to be honest, because some of these photos, you don't know. I mean, where are the kids and where are the photographers and what we're gonna discover.
The announcement for tonight's talk was actually published on a Bosnian online newspaper. And so I was opening it again this afternoon, and I saw a few people leaving comments on it. And one of the comments, so there was a question by a local person from Bosnia, I suppose, and he was saying something like that he had some photographs at home and he would like to know how is it possible to contact you. So my question also would be, how could people contribute to this? Just getting in touch with you and let you know what they have. And
I have to say, I'm present on all social media platforms, and there's an email. So I almost immediately reply and people send. So I think many people consider this project mine still. And because my story is tragic, they feel reluctant to submit or to engage, because maybe they have something nice to share. And I mentioned it. It doesn't have to be tragedy. It could be a wedding. So, for example, one child, I mean, he's not a child anymore, but he was not born. He found pictures of his parents getting married in 1995. And he's last year, so he was like 24. But he didn't want to talk about it. His parents didn't want to talk about it. So it would be really nice to have the story published, how he found his parents. So I'm waiting for 3 stories, related to photos to be sent to me. One of them is really nice and positive and happy. One of them is the girl is alive, but she was shot by a sniper. So if I publish those photos, maybe other people will see it's not only about death, it's about living under the siege. So let's hope. I mean, everyone can contribute. I don't know if I have to say this and repeat. Even if people are not photographers, or if they are not professional photographers, if they just had a camera and they took some photos, you never know, maybe someone doesn't have those photos that they took. Because, I mean, I'm sure we all have some photos of some friends that they would like to have those photos, but we just don't share it because it's a digital age. It's thousands of photos on Instagram, but then when someone dies and you show them and you go, hey, this is amazing. So I would like to invite people to engage more, especially if they have photos and stories to share. It will be a huge contribution.
In those years, like in Sarajevo under siege, was it mostly international photographers working? Who were the people with a camera in Sarajevo under siege? Mostly foreigners, or you also had were there also local photographers, and do you have them in your archive?
I have, and I'm in contact with all of them, at least 10 local photographers. I'm waiting for photos from 5 of them. Sadly, 3 of them are dead, and 4. And but most of the photographers that I've seen are Italian, French, British, then Spanish, then it goes on. I guess, I don't know, because the biggest agencies and the best agencies were from those countries, so, and maybe the access and so. But I have to say, for local journalists, photojournalists, it was more difficult because of their nationality to go, especially to other side, and take photos of the Serb aggressors. And, so for the foreigners, it was easy because they had the permissions and they had the names they had.
If anybody would like to ask a question to Džemil, we can just open the floor to question. You can turn on your camera and mic if you like, or just drop a question in the chat if you don't feel like talking.
Yes, Caroline?
Have a question?
Hi, yeah, thanks for your talk and obviously seeing online the work you're doing. So you say about further developments, would you look at educational resources somehow? I know they're personal photographs. I work a lot in Holocaust education, and most photographs you see are perpetrator taken. So I think it's interesting to have positive photos, like you say, as well as photos of showing what really happened. I mean, denial's happening now with the Bosnian genocide as well. So it's almost evidence as well as educational, or do you just see it as a personal sort of website to begin with?
It's, of course, that's, as I said before, the project will go in many directions, and one of the direction is, of course, educational, because we are still in a process of collecting stuff, and because photographs are really, they have specific ruling. You cannot just share them the way you like to share them, because they are, you have to either pay or credit. But for now, we are collecting them and we have them. So I have thousands and thousands of photos. Not all of them are published, especially the bloody ones, out of respect for the victims. But we have them. Two photographers offered to send them to museums, to original copies, to send them to museums. So yes, that's the maybe one of the most important goals is the educational purposes for the future generations. I mean, in 50 years' time, no one will be there to remember those. I mean, we have children now who were born after the war, and they don't know many details. So whenever they see photo of the siege that I share, let's say on Twitter, it is educational. Maybe I don't publish it as serious as I should, but it is educational.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any other question to Džemil? I was actually thinking, Džemil, do you have any support? Like, who is supporting the project? Were you ever contacted by politicians in Bosnia who wanted to support your project? Because if you think about that, also the climate of denial in Bosnia, your project could be seen like as a very political project. I mean, everything is political in Bosnia these days. So have you ever had any support, or maybe somebody who is criticizing your project or sending you nasty messages? Does it happen sometimes?
So nasty messages, I kind of ignore, and it's always from anonymous people, so irrelevant. But not a lot, I have to say, not a lot. I don't have any support except my friends, I have to say. So without my friend Emir Yordamovic, who shot all 3 interviews, half of this wouldn't be possible. I have a friend, Davud Hajdarevic, who did the logo and some other stuff for me. So it's mostly friends who help translate stuff or research stuff. Sanela Goyak, I would like to mention. So for now, I don't have any official or NGO supporting me. And I have to say it's okay for now, but when it gets a little bit bigger and bigger, I'll have to have some kind of a support, because I cannot do everything by myself. It's getting really, really big. I cannot remember the names sometimes, or because we have 80 of them and 50 of them I sent 50 emails. So I have to write notes when I have to do stuff. So it's, as you said, it's political. So I'm in a way glad I don't have any support, because I don't want to take sides, and I don't want someone to misuse me, because I mean, it's easily manipulated by opinions, and I want to work with facts. So this is my life on the line, and my tragedy. So I don't want anyone to play with that, and so I don't want to be how to say it, the ingredient in a recipe. I'm the recipe, so I'll play. That's why I don't want to do interviews with many people, because they want to just use one snippet or one quote, and they would just say Džemil, who lost his brother. So I refuse to agree to losing my brother. He didn't go into the woods and never came back. He was killed by a Serb sniper. And there's this narrative and this temperature in Bosnia where whitewashing is very welcomed. And I have to be really careful who I give interview to, or who I open my arms to, because I would rather be on my own and do it properly for the love of my brother and all the other kids who were killed. So that's about the help. And so sometimes it's better not to have it. It's difficult, but it's better not to have it if it's for wrong reasons.
There is a question from Enrico Dagnino. So he's saying, hello, Džemil, great to see you and hear you. I'm curious about the almost daily kids obituary on Twitter. How do you get the info and the photos? And
so I have the Book of Dead that I think it's public, it's PDF. And I have folders. I have to say, let me show you something. You might find it interesting. Maybe let me share screen. So I have share. I don't know if you see it. So children, I have it by months. So March, or let's say February. So Nihad was killed, and this is Nihad's photo. He was killed in 1985. And then I use my heritage software service to improve the photos. So for example, this is the original photo of Namik. This is fixed photo of Namik. So I have the book. I organize the killed children by months. So every day I publish one child on their anniversary, just to show the world that they are not numbers. They have the name, they have family, there's a date, they were either playing or going to school or collecting water, or they were with their mothers. So, and many times their family members, they are really thankful, or they say, this is my brother, or this is my neighbor, or this is my sister. So that's my way of paying some respect to them.
Is there any other question to Džemil? Enrico is saying that you do a fantastic job, very impressive.
Thank you, Enrico. And thank you once again for the video and the galleries and the photos.
So why, Džemil? I guess we all know here tonight why remember is important, but have you discovered something more, like in these 2 years of research, going through all those pictures and stories, why it is vital to remember?
I mean, even if it was, let's say, music or film, it would be important to remember, because you need to preserve your heritage, your culture. But in this case, it's our history, dark part of our history. So we have to remember, and I really hate that word never again, because it's just, in today's world, it's kind of pointless watching Syria or China or Myanmar. But it is to educate and preserve, because even today, in 2021, some people claim we don't exist. So there will be always someone who will claim that our language or religion or ethnicity or our flag even don't exist. So we have to preserve this and we have to save this. So I learned a lot about journalism, I have to say. I learned a lot about photojournalism. It's interesting that we had 240 photographers, and let's say Syria, I don't know how many, because it's really different kind of a conflict, and it's a really, I don't like to compare, but it's 10 years, so obviously it's worse. So, I learned a lot about myself and how certain things in life I wasted energy and time on people claiming that it didn't happen, we did it to ourselves, those sort of things. And I realized that we shouldn't waste time, and we should start from facts and just not ignore them, they'll be always there, but if we waste time and energy on proving that the sky is blue, the years will pass. So certainly for me, I don't know when it happened and how it happened. I didn't read as much as I supposed to read. I didn't follow as much as I supposed to follow. So now I'm kind of paying it with the installments. So I would suggest people not to do that. So this is my way of contributing to community and my way of giving it back, because I have a really good visual memory, and sometimes I think it's a curse. So I try to use it as positive and give it back to community, because I remember names, I remember locations. So my way of using that curse, quote unquote, is to use it for educational purposes and for this project.
And you know how some foreigner photographers who were covering the Bosnian War, sometimes they would feel frustrated because they felt what they did in Sarajevo or in other parts of Bosnia didn't help or didn't stop the war sooner. And now I'm thinking it's been 25 years and Bosnia and Herzegovina still live in this denial from, some people deny what happened in Sarajevo and Srebrenica, but now we have photographs, so photographs are just, very important proofs to remember what happened.
Almost every photographer told me the same. They were really, many of them suffered because of that, because their work kind of went into vain. But they did extraordinary job, and I want to show them that they didn't do it for nothing. And this is my way of thanking them as well. I'm living proof of those atrocities, so I don't need to prove anything. I mean, we can disagree on opinions, but we are talking about facts here. And at some point, I mean, we will prevail. So I'll save it as much as possible. I will do it as much as possible because the stuff I do it out of love for my brother and for other kids who got killed, and we are dealing with facts. They are doing it out of hate, and they are dealing with lies. So we will win. I mean, it might sound pathetic, but I'm not bothering myself with them.
We have another question from Yorda. So hi, Yorda, and thank you for your question. She's asking, can we expect an extended version of the interviews or a documentary in the near future?
So I have done 5 interviews so far, and all 5 of them were around 1 hour, hour and a half. So I don't want to give false information, but eventually we might have an interview with more of them. So when I do, let's say 10 or 15, it could be a feature documentary of Sarajevo and the siege, or photographers, or war photographers. Some of them don't like war photographers, so it could be a documentary of the siege of Sarajevo through the eyes of photojournalists. So really, it is possible to have those.
I think Simon would like to ask a question.
Thank you. Džemil, hi.
Hi.
I'm not sure, were you in the Zoom with Paul Lowe and Kenneth Morrison where they launched their book the other week on reporting the siege of Sarajevo? You've mentioned Paul a couple of times tonight. I just wondered if you were in that presentation.
I was listening, not all of it, and just by chance the book arrived today. So
Snap.
So
I've got one here too.
Yeah. So I know. I mean, I met Paul. Is the first one I met. So Paul is the.
What I thought was interesting in that, I mean, I was very moved seeing Christopher Morris, your film on Christopher Morris. I hadn't seen that before, and in that conversation with Kenneth and Paul the other night, you know, the number of people who were there, prominent journalists like Ed Vuljami, who's also gone through an awful lot of trauma in recent years, and I thought what was fascinating in that conversation was talking about the kind of follow-up stories. You know, we talked there about the image of young Nermin, who was shot by the APC with Trevor Gibson stood next to him. I see you've got Alex Elena on the site, who of course Trevor brought out as part of the Bruce Dickinson band. There's an ongoing narrative there. And the other, you know, the ongoing narrative around Fikret at Ternopilje or Amaska, I forget which, the barbed wire photograph, those follow-up books 15, 20 and 25 years later, continuing telling the story. I just wondered if you ever see the site developing or I mean, I think you've mentioned there are stories. You're looking for stories. I don't really have a sense looking at the site at the moment of the story 20 and 25 and 30 years later that you want to tell through it. I think it's an absolutely brilliant piece of work. As you know, I've been following it on social media for quite a while, and so thank you for it. Good to talk to you in that sense. But the future stories, the catch up, the what happens next, how does that fit into your plans for the site?
I had the idea, but I don't know how to execute it as some kind of a timeline with people involved in it. So, for example, Nermin's killing, I know the names of 3 UN soldiers, including Trevor, who was there. I know their boss, who told them to go there. I know photographer who took the photo. I know the photographer who took Nermin when he was alive. I know the photographer who took Nermin when he arrived at the Kosovo. So everyone is involved. And I have photos and documents of people merging or meeting each other in different places. I mean, Chris said he was with Enrico. So I got to Chris through Enrico, and I got to Enrico through Paul. So it's a web of people. So I think eventually we will reach that point where we'll have, I hope we will have them in one place. But the problem is some of them, and I understand, don't want to talk about it. So we'll see how it goes.
Thank you for that. I mean, just a pleasure to finally hear from you around the project. I've really appreciated it. There's a couple of people who I think, are they going to appear? Maybe I'll pick that up with you offline. There's a couple of people who have bodies of work that I think would be really interesting to add to it. And I would just, if you're not in touch with them, but you probably are if you've got 200 odd waiting to go up. But I'd love to pick that up with you offline. Many thanks.
Yeah, thank you. I just to mention one thing, I really feel terribly sorry. 3 of them died in the process of making this website. So 2 of them died last year. 1 of them died in 2019, and I didn't have time to contact them. For some reason, one of them was liking my photos on Instagram, and I was telling myself, I'll contact him. And when he died, I was, so sometimes I postpone it, prolong it, or they don't reply, and I don't know the reasons. Maybe my email goes to junk, maybe they are not ready, but so I don't know when you send me those names, I don't know, maybe I don't have them, because believe me or not, it's every now and then I get a new name that I never heard of, which is really fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, I will shut up now because I don't want to dominate the short time left for questions. But I mean, they're interesting in the sense that they weren't there primarily as photographers. They were there as part of other projects, humanitarian / educational projects, who happened to take some brilliant photographs. And anyway, I'll pick that up with you offline. Many thanks.
Thank you.
Džemil, I have one last question for you, unless other people tonight here in the audience have questions for you. So we decided to launch this other round of conversations at Kuma with artists from Bosnia who live in diaspora. So my question to you is, if you can just tell us how many years it has been that you live outside of Bosnia, and what is your connections to Bosnia, to Sarajevo? You told me because of COVID, you haven't been in Sarajevo for many, many months.
So I live in Qatar for the last 14 years. I'm here with my family. We usually go back to Bosnia twice a year, sometimes once a year. And I have to say I am semi-diaspora because I don't have a permanent address here. I don't have a passport. So it's work-related. So we'll see how, after 5 years, I said 7 years, but now I don't say any more years. So I feel like I never left because I'm really involved in what's happening, and that's my city, and I follow things, and so I don't feel like I'm away, to be honest, at all, never. So maybe that's why I'm engaged this much. I'm not saying that others are not, but my relationship with my country is different than with comparing to someone who's in America for the last 25 years. They have an American passport. Maybe they don't have family members. I mean, I have a mother, I have a family there, so it's I'm not away, maybe physically, but I'm not away.
I have to say, I also follow you on social media, and because there is a new post every day, so I do feel that you are here with us in Sarajevo. So that's a very good feeling. 2 people just wrote in the chat, Aldin.
Yeah. That's my childhood friend. So
and
I don't know if they hear me. I guess they hear me. And
they do. Then there is Leila, who works with us at Kuma. Thank you so much for your talk tonight and for the work you've been doing through Sniper Alley. And Todd, who is a photographer friend in New York. Awesome talk. Thank you so much from Brooklyn.
Thank you, Todd. Thank you, Leila. And thank you, Kuma. Thank you for this, for having me, because I guess some people just hear about things late. So for example, I had many followers since you published Kuma International. So every mention or every share helps. But then maybe people think they are helping me. I mean, it's not about me. It's I just feel sad that people don't see those photos, because there was one gallery there for almost since the beginning, and one girl, she found her friend in it, and I thought to myself, but how come you didn't see it before? So people don't have time, or they don't research everything. So I really wish that people go more, and because I update sometimes photos or add new ones. So yeah, so have a new.
Yeah, there are like so many people saying, thank you, Patrick, wonderful work and project. Thank you, Yashlin. She was also at Kuma years ago. Such an important project. Thank you for it and for this great talk. And Caroline, thank you. Wonderful to hear more about your projects. Velma also, who is part of the Kuma community. Impressive work and videos. Thank you, Džemil. Thank you, Claudia. Well, thank you, Velma. And thank you, everyone, for being with us tonight. I'm actually happy you said some people, maybe they didn't know your work before and now they are following because Kuma published the announcement. But as I was telling you before, I have to say so many people like on Twitter now follow us because we share the
Yes.
you know, the news. So I guess it's mutual, you know, it's, but yeah, this is just a small detail. So, and other people, so I see Roberta Biagiarelli, hvala. Grazie dall'Italia for this necessary project. Thank you, grazie Roberto, for being with us tonight. Arslana, thank you, Gemo, big support from Belgium. So it's great we also have people following from Belgium. Damir, who will be one of our next guests in this Artist in Conversation. Great talk, happy to be introduced to this work more soon. So this talk with you tonight, Džemil, was the first talk. And we will have 3 more throughout March and April. I hope all of you will be able to join us. And we will talk with Jazeera Hodžić, who is in Canada, Damir Avdajic, who is living in Norway, and Arnela Mahmutovic in the United States. And they are all artists from Bosnia living abroad. But really, thank you so much for accepting our invitation and for sharing your story, for the amazing project that you're doing. And if Kuma can help or contribute in any way, I mean, you know, we are here and ready to.
Thank you very much. Thank you everyone for listening and being part of this talk, because everything matters, and everything, even small details like share or a comment or a question, it's a way of supporting the project and supporting my mission and our mission. Thank you for having me.
Also, Simon is asking how can I stay informed about future talks? Maybe, I hope this is also like a question that some other people tonight are asking. So if you want to drop me your email in private here in the chat, I will add you to our newsletter, or you can visit the Kuma International website, kumainternational.org, and there is you can leave your email, and we will add you to our newsletter. And then also we are trying to be as social as Džemil. We also have Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. It's a lot of work, I have to say. So I really admire you, Džemil, for that as well, because as Enrico was saying, it's a daily job, yeah, that you do also on social media, which is a lot of work. So,
thank you. Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much. Okay, so yes, thank you again, Džemil. Thank you everyone for joining us, and we will announce soon the next talk. It's going to be probably in 2 weeks with Ksenia. But we will announce it in advance. So thank you so much. Enjoy your evening. Džemil, again, thank you so much. Hopefully see you soon again in Sarajevo for coffee, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I hope. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you
very
so much, everyone. Thanks. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Todd. Hi, Selma.
Grazie mille.
Hi. Grazie a te, Todd. Thank you.
I'm always crashing these Kuma talks with like just hoping that I'm waiting to hear all these other questions and feedback, and then, you know, at the last minute, I'm like formulating my own questions. So if you don't mind, I have one question for Džemil.
I don't mind if Džemil has time.
You have time, Džemil.
Yeah, yes, of course.
Well, first I wanted to just comment on what Simon was saying, like, you know, okay, it's been 25, 30 years and it's sort of like nothing new, like all these stories, like where do you go with it? And I feel like even the way you were just describing about, you know, Nermin's, that story, to me, every time I look at any pictures from the siege, from the war, I was 15 when the war started, so I was sort of like in high school during those years. It's like a dream, you know. When you dream, sometimes you wake up and you tell a story, you retell it to the first person you see, and then later on in the day you remember something else, and then you just retell that dream again, and all of a sudden, the more people you tell it to, it becomes more detailed and more specific, and then you're like, no, I think I got this wrong. It was like this, you know what I mean? But it's really kind of vague, and you don't know for sure. Is it because you're retelling it so many times that you're adding details because it makes sense, or it actually happened? So it's always for me like looking at the old pictures and trying to put them together and place myself somewhere in that time or area. So it's just never ending. Like it never gets old to look at these photos because they bring so much of that time that most of us don't have a lot of like factual evidence of photographs, but so much of it happened during those 3.5, 4 years. The one question that I did have was, you mentioned this kind of daily, I'm in Dubai, so unfortunately I cannot access your website. It is not available, but I do follow you on social media, so I've seen, you know, the photos. So I'm waiting till I get out of here for the summer and actually like really explore it extensively, because for one is also personal reason, which I don't have to get into it here, but the other one is that, I'm just curious, are you in touch or in some ways working with the parent association in Sarajevo? I'm assuming your parents might be part of it, of all the children that were killed, and the memorial room that's being sort of planned, the white room or whatever the plan is. Is that something that you're part of it, or you're not even kind of aware of the project?
I know of it. I know the person who is in charge, was Mr. Grabovica.
Mm-hmm.
I actually found a photo of his daughter's grave. Photo is done by Paolo Siccardi. So I know of it, and we are in contacts. Last time I was with him was in 2019 summer. I gave the tennis ball my brother played with when he was killed. So every child will have something in that room. I don't know how they're gonna call it, white room or a memorial room, but I know of it because we gave them many things, but then I split it. I left half for him and I gave half to the War Childhood Museum. But I'm not involved in any way. I would like to be involved and maybe help them, because I think they need to have at least Instagram and Twitter, just because of these informations and details. I was double checking one date with them, because the book of Book of the Dead is from them. They did it. There are a few mistakes in it, nothing major. So if I ever get in contact with them, like physically, when I go there, I'll suggest a few things, and maybe we can cooperate.
Because that's the thing, I think from what I've heard, that there isn't yet the final number of the children. Like yes. It's ambiguous for whatever reason, really. I mean, I guess it boils down to like archives and who's really keeping record of it. So because of when you share the screen and the months and folders, I was kind of thinking, you know, that would be like a great asset to the project.
I think it's very sensitive to talk about numbers, so that's why it's never, for example, my brother's name is on the memorial for the killed children, and I counted them. They are 575, something like that, but 1,601 child was killed. And for example, there are kids that I mentioned on Twitter that were killed in the massacres, but I don't have them in the book. So whatever the reason is, I have no idea, but there are kids that I mentioned on Twitter with the name and the last name and the age that I couldn't find in the book. So there is I wouldn't say two lists or two different numbers. I think it's not complete for different reasons, because maybe some of them didn't have parents to submit, and
right.
It's I don't want to speculate.
Yeah, and I don't think, I agree with you. I don't think it should come down to numbers, right?
Yes, exactly.
Obviously, whether it's 1 or 1,601. But it is kind of important because just mostly for the kind of retelling again of history and of memory, that especially for the ones that may not have the parents or family really in Sarajevo or alive to contribute. So like, how could we find at least a friend or a relative that could provide at the very basic, like some old photo, you know, just something to fill in that blank, basically.
I think this book I have has to be redone again, in all honesty, because it's not that good quality-wise, and it should be done in English as well, and it should be open to search. Right now it's done as a PDF, but it's photos, so I had to type in the text and or scan it with Acrobat Reader, and I had to improve the photos through my heritage website, which helps a lot. But I'm sure those parents, they have high-res photos anyway. We can scan them properly, but with the room they are making, every parent will submit something from the child, so maybe it can be done again properly.
Okay, great. Well, it's amazing, and I appreciate your bravery for kind of diving into it, starting with a personal story, because that's not easy, obviously, but then continuing to sort of, almost as you've said so many times during the talk, it's not about me and your tragic story, that there are so many other parts of that war experience that, you know, made us who we are today, really. And it is so necessary to continue telling it and keeping sort of this memory alive. So appreciate it.
Something you said earlier is when you see the photos and it's a dream. So I see myself and my family and my brother in every single photo, because that's what I did. So I don't have to find my photo. I would love to, but there were two photos that I was examining for months, thinking that's me. Really, that's me. But then the background and the environment was not possible to be me, but the kids are exactly like me. So in a way, those kids brought back the memories of the childhood under siege. And when I see nurses in hospital, I see my mother. So, or other female fighters or civil engineers. That's my mother fighting the war, because there's so much done behind the front line that we don't speak about, without brave doctors, nurses, cooks. All of them contributed. So every photo is important. Maybe we see it and it's something irrelevant at first, but someone is there, some detail is there that's really important.
And okay, I swear, one last question. That's it. Have you mentioned in some of those photos that you found the kids from the war photos now, I guess, as adults? I think I see, maybe, I don't know if that was through your website or through your social media, but there was like some kind of a documentary where a few of these adults now were revisited and kind of told their story or what's happened with them.
So that documentary is not out yet. And because I work for Jazeera English, and we were maybe we will buy it or not buy it. I have seen it. So it's Spanish photographer Gervasio Sanchez. A really nice, emotional documentary. He found, I think, 5 or 6 kids from his photos. It's really nice. I recommend, when it's out, I recommend everyone. So my idea is not new, so to say, but it's like a car. I mean, Mercedes makes cars, Fiat makes cars. So it's, and I'm not competing with anyone. I kind of, I didn't steal it, but I've seen Guardian has, I mean, this is not a secret, I'm not ashamed of it or anything. Guardian has this section, that's me in the photo. So people find themselves in a famous photo and they send it to it, and it's like an article. They are saying I was 17, I was on a bus, and this is me in the famous photos. For me, it's reversed. We find a photo and then people say, that's me. So it's other way around. And as I said, we found many, but people are not willing to talk. So it was successful. It is successful. When you go to the website, we don't have many stories submitted, and it looks unsuccessful. But I want to say that many people were there.
Good. Well, wish you all the best, and maybe one day we sort of meet up and have more chat about this stuff. Take care.
Thank you.
You muted, Claudia.
I'm sorry. Sorry, thank you, Selma. I was just saying, Džemil, there is one more question. I don't know if you have time. I don't know what time is it in Qatar. Can you still?
Fine, 9:20 is fine.
Okay.
The one in text, yeah?
Yes. So let me just read it out loud. So when because we're recording the video. So do you consider to interview maybe those people from the photos who survived to expand the project and have their stories during the siege? And for example, how the photo was taken, what were they doing that day, etc.
I guess first mission would be for them to talk, at least on paper, and then we do video. But many people, I just mentioned, they don't want to write stories about it, because I don't know, whatever the reasons are. I remember when this film was being made, they were looking for the photos, looking for the kids from the photos, and they found many of them. And but when I watched the film, some of them were not in the film. So I was wondering what are the reasons, or maybe people don't feel comfortable talking. So it's many things happen behind the curtain that we don't know, and we will never know. So, but yeah, that's one of the idea, to find people, and if they want to talk, and maybe go to the same place and redo the quote quote redo the scene of them playing or doing something.
Thank you, Džemil. And thank you one more time also to all the people that showed up tonight. So thank you for showing your support to Džemil and to Kuma as well. As I always say, there would be no Kuma if people wouldn't show up for the projects that we do. So it is really, really, really important. And thank you again.
Thank you. Your support is much appreciated. Thank you very much. Really means a lot.
So we will be waiting for you in Sarajevo for a coffee.
Yes.
You and everybody else in this
yes.
talk tonight who just can't wait to come back to Sarajevo. Okay, have a great night, good evening, everyone, and we will be seeing each other soon on on Zoom again.
Great.
Ciao.
Oh.
Ciao.
I put on my phone. Fantastic. Fantastic talk. Fantastic job. Can't wait to see you in Sarajevo for a coffee.
Yes, in person. Thank you. All the best.
All the best. Ciao.
Bye. Ciao.
Okay. See you soon.
See you.
Bye bye. Thank you so much.